Transition Radio TV brought to you by thebreastformstore.com. They have everything you could possibly need for your cross-dressing and transgender needs. Visit their website at www.thebreastformstore.com and tell them Transition Radio sent you.
The following ingredients include a look behind the scenes. Cook uncovered until hot. Add grooves to taste.
I would like, if I may, to take you on a strange journey.
Once upon a time, there was a little girl.
The accident was over a year ago. A second woman has been elected president. A 12th planet has been named in the solar system. The last wild polar bear has died. I slept through it all. I was here for my waking. He called it a beginning. He said it was good. I think he may have thought that anything I did was good.
Welcome to Transition Radio, live from Milton Manors, Florida. Your host, Mark Angelo Cummings.
And your hostess, Jessica Latham.
A show for trans folks, by trans folks, here to let your voice be heard.
Love us saves me. Well, hello, and welcome to Transition Radio TV show. So glad you're able to join us yet again. There's a lot of exciting things going on in the world. We have a lot of exciting guests coming up in the shows.
Yes.
But we want you to remember to go into our website and click on these little, what do you call these little banners that we created with our wonderful sponsors and advertisers. Like this little thing right here that I'm wearing, you need to go into Gifts by Luli. Okay, and you could get one of these wonderful transgender pendulum from her. And you could also visit Pleasure Bazaar, the store for women who want to explore their sexuality. And Pay It Forward Project, which is an amazing project being held by a person who doesn't want to be named. Well, how do you call that? Somebody who is being anonymous.
Yes,
and they're doing great things for the community, and also Katie Leon and the Breast Form Store, all these wonderful people that make this show possible.
Yes.
But enough about that. We're going to talk about our guest. And
Jessica Lamb.
That's right. And what about Jessica Lamb?
Well, as a firstborn son to Cuban parents, Jessica was raised as your typical little Latin boy. Yet despite of her upbringing, she can remember at a very young age, she desired to be a girl. And although neither of her parents encouraged this, she felt this was inevitable. She was intrigued by the female identity, the fashions, the visual presentation, and how a girl behaves. And now she feels Jessica didn't always fit in with the rest of the boys because inside, as she quoted, I wanted to be just one of the girls.
Late in her childhood years, she would experiment with purses and these desires by indulging in feminine routines like shaving her legs, styling her hair, and shaping her eyebrows. She was embraced by her body, and secretly at night, she wished to God she could wake up in the morning as a girl. Although she wanted to be female, she did not find herself attracted to boys, but preferred dating girls. Over the last decade, she has become an advocate for the gay, lesbian, and transgender issues in public forums and working with non-profit organizations.
She is involved with many local organizations, such as Pride Lines Youth Services, the Yes Institute, the Alliance for GLBTQ Youth. Some of her many accomplishments include coordinating the first transgender education medical symposium in May of 2010 in North Miami Beach, Florida. Other highlights include appearing nationally on television programs such as Larry King Live, The Ricky Lake Show, and internationally on Don Francisco Presenta, Maria Elvira Live, and 7 Diaz. among others.
That's Siete Diaz, and I was part of
Yes.
that with her. She's determined to continue to work towards helping the world understand and learn to accept the differences between all people. And she has recently published a new children's book, The Adventure of Tina and Jordan.
Yes, Jessica was actually born Jesus. It wasn't until after she was married and a father of two that she set out to transform herself into the hot Jessica, man, the woman she always knew she was. All right, so do you have any regrets about being born a male?
You know something? Not at all. At the time, as I was growing up, yes, I thought I would regret it. You know, it's because I felt I was in the wrong body. I mean,
what does that feel like? Could you describe to us? Because at what age do you look at other kids and think there's something just different about me?
I knew between 2, 3 years old, as early as I could remember, my thoughts were that I was in the wrong body. But having been raised in a Latin family, it's not something, Mom, guess what? This is how I feel. You know.
And this is a long time ago.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking in the 70s at this point. So.
And you said you learned about transgender. You first learned the term transgender from talk shows.
Pretty cool. Absolutely. Yeah.
Not my show.
No, it's Merv Griffin. So God.
You're dating yourself.
Oh my God. Yes.
And so that was when you saw people that you identified with?
Absolutely. I learned the term transvestite and transsexual. We didn't use transgender back then.
And transvestite, just to clarify, transvestite is someone who dresses like the opposite sex.
Nowadays, we call them cross-dressers.
Okay. So at what point do you sort of own that this is who you are and then you want to take the steps to become?
Well, I was raised in a really cool time called the 1980s. So if you can remember, like, you know, John Bon Jovi with the long hair and the spandex pants and David Lee Roth and all these men in these glammed up sort of fashions. And I embraced it, you know, so I grew my hair out long, I wore eyeliner, and back then it was just called an artist.
You look like John Bon Jovi in that picture.
God. Are you watching?
Yeah. So you fathered 2 children?
I did. So one of the things that I did to try to, you know, because whenever I was alone with my thoughts, I tried not to feel like I was a woman. You know, I came out to my mom at the age of 13 years old. I used to sneak around in the middle of the night dressing up in girls' clothes or whatever. And one night my mom came out, discovered me kind of running around the house, came into my bedroom, and I was like scared out of my mind, took off what I was wearing, buried under the covers, and I came out to her at that point. I was like, okay, Mom, this is how I feel. I feel like I should have been born a girl. At night I pray to God, and that I could wake up tomorrow and be a girl. So my mom sat there and listened to what I had to say. But she said to me, after I had this to share with her, well, I had a son and not a daughter, and that's wrong, and you shouldn't feel that way. Kids are going to pick on you. It's not normal. So obviously, as a kid at the age of 13 or 14 years old, of course, I was like, okay, I've got to hide this better. You know, I need to, like, forget it. So what did I do? Well, you know, I moved out of my house at 17. I figured if I was living on my own, living what would be seemingly a heterosexual life with my girlfriend at that time, that I would forget these thoughts. But at the age of 18, realizing I wasn't going to escape these thoughts, I came out to her. And I said to her, you know, one night I said to her, well, sometimes I like to wear girls' clothes. Which, she met with a lot of laughter.
So she didn't say,
she thought it was the biggest joke. You know, I had long hair back then, you know, and everything. I was the rock star, whatnot. And she thought it was funny. Until I told her, no, I'm serious. You know, I would like to have breasts. I'd like to look like a girl. To which it became anger. Things were thrown across the room. But at some point, as I was pleading, I love you, I'm sorry, this is just how I feel, I can't get these thoughts out of my head, could you please just accept me for who I am, I'm sorry, you know, just all these I'm sorries and love yous. She finally said to me, okay, well, why don't you go into the shower, get shaved and pretty, and let me see what you look like. I was like, really? You know, so I decided, I went in there and came out, and she did one of these little double takes and says, okay, this will work, and we went out. It was just one of those things.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, absolutely. So we were doing this on the weekends. And then when my mom found out that she was letting me cross-dress, then it was an issue. My mom's like, you shouldn't let your husband be that way. And then she got pregnant at the age of 19. We got married. So as a father, I couldn't be a cross-dresser. I couldn't be, you know, a woman. And I got involved in church. I figured God was going to fix me. I really felt in my heart of hearts that God loves me just the way I am, you know, scars and all.
And you basically had to figure that on your own.
I did, and I was 25 when I finally came to that point where I was like, okay, I need to decide what I'm going to do. But one of the things that my family was very adamant about telling me was that I was being selfish, that I shouldn't do this because the kids are going to suffer and they're going to have a hard time in school, they're going to get bullied, and there was always this idea that I was being selfish. But I thought to myself, at that point in time. You know, if I was an alcoholic and I had a problem with the bottle, I'd have to deal with the fact that I was an alcoholic in order to become a better parent. In other words, work on you first. And when you become the best person that you can be, then you become a better parent for your children.
What a lesson for
Absolutely.
your kids. I mean, I'm sure it's not been easy.
Yeah.
Well, Jessica's son, Christopher, is here. Let's welcome him now.
Now, welcome to our show, the lovely Jessica Lamb.
Hey, Jessica.
Hey, Jess.
That was an awesome interview. Ricky
Thank you
Lakes
very
is
much.
pretty cool. Yeah. It's amazing. We've come a long way doing these talk shows, and the actual host of the talk shows are a little more understanding. They have a little more information. And it's really good. It's an amazing thing. So, being Cuban myself, I know too well the wrath and prejudice towards anything that is not considered normal within the Cuban culture. How did your parents react to your decision becoming the woman that you always knew you were?
Well, see, my parents came from Cuba when they were teenagers to the United States. So in a lot of ways, they were Americanized. However, that being said, they were still raised in that culture. The greatest difficulty is that the stereotypes that are in that culture, you know, boys have to act a certain way, girls have to act another way. You know, boys are supposed to be the ones that go out to get jobs, and girls are supposed to be home and cook for their husbands. And so with those stereotypes, I remember my grandma once telling me that boys should never see girls put on makeup, that the girls had to put on makeup on their own and the boys couldn't do that. So I wanted to sneak into the bathroom and be the girls and put on the makeup because, you know, it was like one of those things. But, you know, it was just those challenges, you know, of that. Having been raised during the time that I was, it wasn't like I could come out to my parents. You see a lot of these kids these days with shows like Ricky Lake and Oprah Winfrey and, you know, all these other shows talking about these topics. We're seeing kids younger and younger come out as transgender. I didn't have that luxury growing up, and that was just a challenge. You know, the only thing we knew back then was the fact that some men like to cross-dress, and the whole transgender issue, the whole transsexual issue was one of these things that was not seen in a very positive light many of the times. And so I was a part of that era of those difficult times of having to come out. So I could not come out at an early age, because if I did, I'd be met with a belt, essentially, by my parents.
That'd be sent to a mental institution. I mean, just the fact that my mother thought I was a lesbian, she took me to a psychiatrist. I can imagine if I would have come out as transgender, I would have been probably locked up, because they couldn't see it in their mind. I mean, it's a culture that's very black or white. They don't realize there's a lot of shades of gray. And not just Cuban culture. I think a lot of other cultures are the same way. It's hard for
I mean, especially in like the Caribbean cultures, you know, the African American cultures, you know, they have a great deal of difficulties coming out.
Yeah, definitely. But thank God we're living in different times. We have a long way to go still.
We
but
have
I believe that we've made
webcasts
great
and
stands.
TV and stuff, so we can learn about these things online now. Isn't that amazing? We can actually Google, I like to wear women's clothes. What does that make me?
Exactly. Before there was nothing. We're like, oh my God, I must be crazy or something.
We had something called the Dewey Decimal System at the public library. You know, the public library is that place where kids can go get free internet now. They don't have books in there anymore.
Yeah.
It's all computers.
But it's a great time to be living in. And although it's still rough, there are groups out there that make it rough for us, because they just can't fathom that, you know, God would create such beautiful human being as us. And I believe that we are one of God's greatest creation to teach humanity something. You know,
well, I mean, a lot of these kids still have these challenges, even with all this technological advances. I mean, I'm sitting right now in a place called Pride Lines, and we offer a safe space for gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender youth. And it's a place where they can come and just be themselves. Amazing that a lot of these kids still haven't come out of the closet and are struggling with bullying still in these schools and things of that nature. So it's really important for these organizations to exist still in order to make an impact in some of these people's lives and just to allow them a safe space to be in.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, like I said, we still have a long way to go, but we are making great strides. I mean, from what we were 15 years ago to where we are now. So we
that's
have to be very
absolutely
thankful.
true. Yes.
Definitely.
Exactly. So, Jess, what was more difficult, coming out to your parents or to your children? And please explain.
Okay. Coming out to my parents, obviously, was a lot more difficult. Let me tell you that the biggest thing that my mom had issues with me about was the fact when I told her I was going to be coming out, that I was going to eventually transition and become a woman, she was saying to me that I was being selfish, just like you saw how I explained it on the Ricky Lake show. And the idea was, what about your kids? Your kids are going to suffer, they're going to go through bullying, and they're going to go through all these things. So it was really difficult for me to kind of go through those processes and having to think about how it was going to affect my children. But something, when I came out to my kids, and I came out to them when they were about 6 or 7 years old, I explained to them that there's all kinds of people in the world. There's people who are tall, there's people who are short, there's people who are overweight, who are thin, black and white, boys who like boys, girls who like girls. And I said, what really matters is who people are on the inside and how they treat you. That's how I raised my kids. I raised them with unconditional love. And I explained to them that, Daddy feels like he's a girl. And that I wanted to be a woman, and that it was okay, and that did not mean that I would no longer be their father. That did not mean that I wasn't going to love them. It just meant that I loved them unconditionally, and that I was not your conventional parent to them. And they were very understanding and open-minded about it. So obviously it was harder for me to come out for my parents, because my parents were raised with a certain set, like as we were talking about the Cuban culture, with a certain set of expectations and standards. They didn't raise me to be transgender. They raised me to essentially become a man. And I became a woman instead. So imagine how hard that must have been for them.
Exactly. They probably thought something was wrong with them. What did I do wrong? Because that's how my mom reacted. My father, surprisingly enough, was very understanding, which I thought would be the other way around.
Yeah.
I wanted to add that I've met your kids, and they're wonderful kids, and you're an
Thank
amazing
you.
mother. You've done a great job.
Thank you. I'm both a father and a mother to these kids. So.
Yes,
And they still call me daddy, as funny as that sounds, yeah.
Well, that's all right. That's what a lot of transgender individuals don't get. They want people to get the right pronouns and get angered at people, and it's like, we can't just erase these relationships we have had with people in our former self. So we have to be understanding of that.
Yeah, I've always said, call me he, she, call me whatever you want, just as long as you call me.
There you go.
Let me ask you, out in public, how do they address you?
Out in public as daddy a lot of times.
Really?
They've tried to call me by my name when they were younger. Now, they use the appropriate pronouns when they're in public. And when they were younger, they were conscious about that. But I never obligated them to call me anything that they were not comfortable with. So, excuse me for a second. And so, so in public, they used to call me daddy, and that was fine. And there was this one time this family turned around and said to me, the truth is most people aren't paying attention. And this one family came up to me and says, oh my God, how cute. Didn't your son just call you daddy? Were they with their father last weekend? Did they just, confuse the pronouns? I mean, it was just quite comical. And I think it's because I never reacted negatively to them when they would call me that. So, it's what people want to see essentially out there. So I never have an issue with that with my kids.
I think the guy behind you is trying to get his 15 minutes of fame, and he just keeps...
No, he's looking through some files. It's all good.
Anyway, it's what I try to get a lot of the transgender individuals to understand, that if they get all upset about improper pronouns, about people not understanding, they're only harming themselves. I mean, why take your time to be miserable about something? Thoughts can't hurt you. Other people's thoughts can't. You just be who you are. And
it's the old adage thing, right? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never harm me.
There you go. We should definitely follow that rule, because it definitely...
I remember that.
I think it's an evolution. I think that eventually, because I remember my first couple of years of transition, I used to get all angry at my mother because she would call me Maritza and she and whatever. And I was like, do I look like I cheated you and all that?
Yeah.
It's like, whatever. I love you, Mom. Call me whatever
it's a
it is.
process for them. It really is. Look, and I tell this to a lot of the youth that I work with who come out later in life. They spend maybe 20, 25 years of their life struggling with this idea and finally come to terms with it. And the way I put it is that, it took you maybe 25 years to come to terms with it. It may take just as long for your family members or your friends, because it's a process for them just as much as it's a process for you.
Definitely it is. So how did the mother of your child actually react to the change in the choice of you becoming Jessica? And are you still friends, or did the transition hurt the relationship?
You want to hear something ironic? Is that this was a picture taken over on her wedding. That's my daughter-in-law right there. But my ex-wife, just got remarried. I was one of her bridesmaids. So
Oh,
go
wow,
figure.
that's amazing.
So
That's
we get along still. But, you know, at the very beginning, when we were together, she was okay with it. She allowed me to explore that aspect of my life. But, you know, being that I got involved with her when I was 17, and by the age of 25, you know, I became part of the statistics that, you know, these marriages don't work out. 50% of them end up in divorce, right? So it was an issue after we were going through our divorce, where she would use the fact that I had, you know, wanted to identify as a woman. She would use that against me in court, and especially when it came to trying to fight for custody of my kids. She tried to keep me from my children. Although we had shared parental responsibility, you know, she was trying to make this thing about me being transgender something bad to take the kids away from me. I went to court, fought for custody of my kids. In the year 2000, I won custody of my kids here in the state of Florida in Miami-Dade County. And it's one for the books. So here's a transgender parent who won custody of her children. So,
way to go.
Very
That's
cool.
awesome. Yeah, you got to fight for what you believe in.
Absolutely. And despite that, you know, we're friendly at this point. You know, she finally got to a point where she realized, you know, listen, I'm a good friend. I've always been by her side, despite whether or not she's agreed with the decisions I've made in my life. So I think it's really more of a testament of who I am as a person, why she's still involved in my life. So,
like I said, we personally know you, and you're an awesome individual and a
Definitely.
great parent, and honored to be your friend. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Likewise, ditto.
So what was the happiest day of your life? And did you have support to share this joy with someone?
The happiest day of my life, by far, was the day my children were born. And I was a boy. I didn't care. You know, it had nothing to do with gender at that point. Aside from that, people ask me, like, you know, as far as surgeries were concerned, what was the most impactful surgery I had, expecting me to say my gender reassignment surgery. And the honest truth is, when I had the LASIK surgery for my eyes, that was the most impactful one that I can see. You know, so.
I can relate to that one.
But,
I wish I didn't have to wear these things. I've been wearing them since I was 1. But I have estrabismal and astigmatism, and that kind of surgery is not that successful, and I'm afraid I'll end up blind. So better to see than not to see at all.
You think?
No. That being said, you know, although I had the surgery, it wasn't something that I had to have in order to feel complete. It was something that was part of my natural evolution and process of becoming of who I am today, but it wasn't necessary to become who I am. So, and really, the truth of the matter, I had surgery was so that I can become a better lesbian. So I guess the greatest irony of my life is I got rid of one to strap one on.
There you go. How crazy is that? You know, but yeah, it's most
amazing.
people don't realize that surgeries aren't everything. They go through their entire transition just having tunnel vision of wanting to get that surgery, and then when they get it, it's like, is this really what I thought it was? And some people have regrets. I mean, we're actually going to have a show a couple months from now regarding detransitioning, which I'm noticing it's a wave that's happening now. A lot of transgender individuals are returning back to their original gender.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre, but there is such a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
Well, you know, because many of us rush to something that we're not prepared for.
Exactly.
Exactly. And it's a huge gamble. I mean, people that ask me, it's a gamble. You risk losing a lot to transition, so you need to be ready and prepared for all these losses. And who knows, it could work out to your favor, but, you know, eventually you're going to have to risk something in
and sometimes
situation.
People do it all for the wrong reasons. You know, they think they're going to be seen in the eyes of the world as the gender they're transitioning to, and people still don't see you like that, no matter what. So this is a self-journey. It's about what makes you happy, not about what you're trying to do for other people or how you want other people to see you.
Yeah.
So that's a big lesson.
My message now to the youth is it's okay to be who you are, just as you are, exactly as you are right now.
Exactly. That's the name of the game. That is the name of the game.
Well, here's a clip of you along with your amazing kids on Larry King.
We begin with the amazing story of Jessica Lamb. Born a man, went on to marry, father children, eventually underwent gender reassignment surgery. Let's take a look at part of her story.
When I was little, I used to wish that I could, like, get up and put on a skirt. Like, I was this little boy who wanted to be a girl. Now that I can get up, go grab me a skirt and wear it to work, guess what I'm wearing? a pair of jeans. It's not what the world around me would say was normal, you know? I hate having to say that, normal. And I don't have to, like, go around telling people that. You know, why? I shouldn't have to. Just accept me. We'll take care of it.
Technically, pizza's healthy because it's got meat, and if you want, you can have fruits and vegetables. Like, I'm upset that she took away a father, but in return that she gave me another parent, a better parent for me.
Some of my family did not agree with my decision. You know, they were uncomfortable with it. Some of them are still uncomfortable with it. But they're willing to accept me. Chris, you want to say grace then? And our love is unconditional.
Good evening. You'll meet a number of people tonight in this situation. Jessica Lamb, the 37-year-old in that piece there, will be with us throughout the show. Born male, underwent gender reassignment surgery 4 years ago. She's the parent of 2 sons, of whom she has full custody, by the way, and they're with us as well. Jesus Lamb is 17 years old, and Christopher Lamb is 16 years old. Jessica, what was your name as a male?
Jesus Lamb.
You were Jesus?
Yeah, he's Junior.
When did you first know in your life something was wrong?
At a very young age. I mean, I could remember being 4 or 5 years old. I used to have this fascination with Linda Carter and Wonder Woman, and how she would just twirl around and become this beautiful woman. I used to pretend there was a box, that I could crawl through this box, and when I'd come out the other side, I'd be a girl. And this was as early as 4 or 5.
But you went on, what profession?
Well, I always aspired to be a musician, an actor, so that's what I pursued later in life. Yeah, I did.
And you got married?
I got married in my...
And fathered 2 wonderful sons.
Yes, I did.
How did you decide to change?
Well, it was something that has always been underlying. Whenever I was alone with my thoughts were that I was in the wrong gender. And I did everything that I could throughout the course of my life to be a guy. You know, my parents never said to me, you know, that they raised me to be a boy, basically, and that's what they knew.
So, but you made a decision one day
I did
to
make
do
that
gender
decision.
reassignment.
Absolutely.
How did you tell first Jesus?
Well, I told both my children, and I sat them down.
How did you tell your wife?
Well, she knew early on. She may not have known my desire to have a full sexual reassignment surgery, but she knew I used to like to cross-dress. So the first time I told her, it was obviously very emotional for her. I mean, she was very angry, obviously.
How did you get the children?
That happened much later on, after we got divorced.
I guess you're not friendly.
We are friendly, actually. We're very good friends at this point.
Does she get to see her children?
Yeah, we have shared parental responsibility, yes.
And Jesus, what was it like when she told you? How'd she tell you?
Well, I kind of grew up with it since I was 3. She was like this. So
She was feminine.
Mm-hmm.
But you never thought she was gay?
No. I never thought that. I just thought she was a parent. It really didn't matter how she appeared to be.
How did she tell you?
I'm
going to change.
Yeah. I didn't really ask when I was younger, but when I was like 11, I did ask. And she told me that it's how she felt like she was inside, not how she appears to be and everything.
How did you take it, Chris?
Yeah, I was fine with it. Like,
really?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's what makes her happy, so, you know, we should be happy, we should be supportive. Because, like, she's taught us to be more supportive, to be open-minded. So when she told us, it really wasn't a difference to us.
How'd your mother take it?
Like she said, it was very emotional, you know, she wasn't very accepting. But, you know, she was still supportive, you know.
Did she remarry?
Yeah.
She did?
She did.
You get along with your stepfather?
Yeah, we do. We get along a lot. You know, he lives in New York now, but it's still good.
What do you call Jessica? Mom? Jessica? Pop? What?
I got used to calling her JC, you know, but we used to call her Daddy. But in public, we would say, you know, Mom or, you know, something like that.
Of course, she's a beautiful girl. Yeah. When she came back looking like this, what did you think, Jesus?
Really, I didn't think much. I grew up with it. I was kind of used to her looking feminine and everything. So.
What'd your friends say?
My friends...
Didn't kid you?
Really, we kept a secret with most of our friends. But the friends we saw that we could trust, we ended up telling them, and most of them were very accepting, you know.
I mean, did one day, Chris, they come over the house and suddenly your father is your mother?
Not really, because our friends didn't really know about our families much. Like you said, we kind of kept it secret, you know. We just talked about ourselves more than our family.
How'd you deal with it, Jessica? Friends, business associates, their friends.
The way, I mean, our personal life is our personal life. And quite honestly...
Yeah, but you're not the same person.
No, well, actually, I am the same person. I may look different,
That's what I
but
mean.
I'm still the same parent they've always known. I've raised my kids to believe that there's all kinds of different people in this world. You've got tall, short, fat, skinny, black, white. There's all kinds of, realities and other lives. As long as they're good people at heart, that's what really matters. That's how I've raised them to be, just to be open-minded, to be, accepting of others.
This makes it sound like everything was hunky-dory.
Everything was hunky-dory, really. I mean, not without its problems, of course. You know, there was a issue in middle school where a kid came to find out that they had a transgendered parent, and that became a gossip around school. I'll never forget the call from the guidance.
Amazing, yeah. It's, if we would learn to educate the world that, like you said, there are black, fat, all sorts of different kinds of people in the world. Why do people have to have issues? You know, it's just...
The only thing that's normal is that we're all different.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's...
I think if we were all the same, the world would be a boring freaking place.
I know, it would be like drones or something.
But it's an anomaly. It's impossible to be the same. There's no way that any one person can be exactly the same, even when you have two pair of twins, and we just had a pair of twins born in my family. That may be identical. They may look exactly the same and share the same DNA, but they're uniquely different, and there'll never ever be another single soul that's exactly like you, which is pretty amazing to know and understand.
If you look at the fingerprints, our fingerprints are totally different. And, you figure how many patterns could there possibly be? But it's the beauty of...
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder if identical twins have the identically same fingerprints.
No, I don't think so. Even that has to be different.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
No?
It's different, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we all have, and our DNA and stuff like that is totally different.
For all intents and purposes, they're too different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a spiritual thing. I mean, who knows?
Is.
Everybody has their own beliefs on this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, every tree has its a different ring pattern inside, so they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but that Larry King video was taken almost 7 years ago, so I've got young men as children now. And my youngest son, Christopher, who's now going to be 23, is making me a grandma. So
wow, it's amazing. Wow. I just thought that was a great video to introduce. I remember seeing that, and it was a good interview. Larry King did considering the old man.
Yes, and Larry was very, very kind and considerate.
Yeah. Do you have someone special in your life, Jessica? And if not, who would be that ideal person you would want to grow old with?
Well, the someone special in my life right now is my daughter-in-law and my son who live with me right now. She has my grandchild in her belly. But no, as far as a partner, no, I'm single. And honestly, I've had a great deal of challenges in finding somebody to consider a partner. I have dated and I have met people, but I just haven't really found that special somebody to spend the rest of my life with. Perhaps maybe one day I will.
You said earlier that you were attracted to women. Would there ever be a shift if you found somebody that wasn't just a female transgender man or just regular man that might interest you, that might just make you get out of the box and maybe open up the chances? Or
it's a great question, and I've often pondered that myself. Honestly, I don't know. I can't tell you what tomorrow is going to bring me. I do know I have a preference now, and that preference is, with a female partner. But that can change. Who knows? I mean, I'm not opposed to not, opening up my mind, I suppose. But we shall see. You never know.
That's life. I never thought I'd fall in love with a transgender female. I was very opposed to certain things, and it's just like, boom.
The thought of being with a trans guy never crossed my mind.
Well, what can I tell you? Love is love, no matter what language you speak or what you look like. So
that is so
exactly.
True. Definitely true.
And actually, my therapist asked me. She goes, "Could you ever see yourself?" When I first started seeing her, she asked me, "Could you see yourself falling in love with a man?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't think so." And look at where I'm at.
Well, I'm
Yeah,
part
you
man,
have a,
part
you have a
woman.
lovely man
I'm
by your
transgender.
side.
I'm
So,
very
and I've
proud to be
known Mark for many
transgender.
years.
Yes, but I do like men now. I'm bisexual, so, you know, I got the best of both worlds
Well,
going on here.
Mark is a man's man. I'm sorry, forget about where he came from, but
Exactly.
Thank you. Okay, I'm blushing now. Go on to the next question.
Yes, good job, Joss. So, do you have any words of wisdom for our younger trans generation that can help alleviate their worries about troubles and prevent them from being a statistic?
Basically, there was this one trans kid that I met many years ago, and it really kind of left an imprint with me because she approached me, and she must have been maybe 12 or 13 years old, and said to me, listen, you've spoken about some transgender issues, and I'm concerned that I am transgender, but I can't come out to my family, and if I do, they're going to kick me out of my house, and there's nobody, she didn't want to end up in the street. She identified as a lesbian and had a lesbian partner and was in love with that partner, and says, and if she found out, she would never want me in her life. I can't come out as being a trans man, is basically what she was telling me. And what do you tell somebody that age? If they come out, it eventually means that they would lose everything that they have. And I said to her, you know what? And like I said earlier, you're perfect just the way you are. I encouraged her to look in the mirror and to see what she liked. Certainly there had to be something in that mirror that she liked. Maybe it wasn't her body, but maybe it was her eyes, maybe it was her hair, maybe it was her shoulders, her mouth, her teeth, whatever that is. I says, concentrate on that and look at that person that's there and find something that you like about yourself. And every day will become that much more bearable. You can only live your life one day at a time. And it's just important to be who you are. And who you are is an excellent person. And there's nobody perfect, not even me. So
those are words of wisdom. And that's what we fail to understand, that we're perfect the way we are. And that when we look at the TV, they're always trying to create, you need a surgery to make your breasts look bigger. You need this, whiten your teeth to make your smile look better. It's like you're perfect the way you are. And we have to learn to love ourselves.
And that's exactly what my book is all about. There you go.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in a little while. But yes, that's the key. I mean, we spend our entire lives trying to be something we're not. You're either too fat, so you want to be skinny. If you're too skinny, you want to get bulkier.
You always want what the other person has, right? I always wanted my hair to be straight because it was curly,
Yeah, if you had straight hair, like I used to have curly hair.
I did keratin on my hair to make it really flat straight. And then I was like, I miss my curls,
Yeah, because you're never happy. I used to, when I was Maritza, I used to get the straighteners, and they had this beautiful curly hair.
I have straight hair, and I'm always curling it when I get the chance.
And then you see people paying for permanents to get curly hair, so we're never happy. The grass is always greener on the other side, we so think.
It always is.
Yeah, of course.
Because they water it better on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So let me ask you, are you happy with how your transition and surgeries have turned out? And who performed the procedures, if you don't mind us asking?
Sure. I had my bottom surgery with Harold Reed. That's really the only surgery that I've had. And he did a very nice job. And I had surgery with him in 2003. I was among his very first patients, and he operates out of Bal Harbour, Florida, here in South Florida. One of the things about Harold, Dr. Reed, that really impressed me, somebody asked him once, about having orgasms after surgery. And I love the way he put it. He would say, if the person could play piano before surgery, they could play piano after surgery too. So it's like, if you're a musician, it's in your blood. It'll happen. So, but I'm happy with the result that he gave me. And I did tell you that it wasn't important necessarily for me to have that surgery, but it was one of those things that was part of my natural process of becoming who I am today. So
it's part of the evolution, and as we're talking to you, we're showing a video of you as JC, and
yeah, I was actually a minister back then. That's a church, and I'm preaching the word of God through music,
which is beautiful. I mean, what better way to preach the word
and you see that
of
guy
our
bouncing
Creator.
around there on the side of the stage. He was my backup dancer. He was my hype man. He would come out and rap. So he was one of the first person I told when I went to transition, and he gave me the most memorable response that I've ever gotten. I tell him, listen, Eddie, I'm going to go through these changes, and I'm going to become a woman, and you're going to see, you know, breasts start to develop, and my body will seem more feminine. And he's looking at me, and he's like staring at me like, what the hell was I telling him? And after about 5 minutes of just him staring at me and just kind of making like a little, you know, how is he going to react? The first thing out of his mouth is like, okay, so can I see your breasts when they come in?
That's a typical line.
Wait a minute. Yeah, so when I came out to everybody at work, some of the guys that worked under me, there was one of them was like, said almost the same thing. He was like, okay, that's cool. He goes, well, when your boobs grow up, can I be the first one to touch them? And I was like,
it's like, no.
No.
I don't know what it is.
But, you know, Eddie, who is still a Christian and is a minister now, is a good friend of mine still. And he gets a lot of flack from the people, you know, that he goes to church with, saying, why is he still friends with me? And he's like, you know, hey, JC is still JC, regardless of what she looks like on the outside. So, you know, I have to hand it to him for being a friend and for sticking by me. So, you know, that's what I call the true measure of a good Christian.
And that's exactly what Christ came here to teach us, and all religion, not just Christianity, has totally messed up that message. And it's like, you know, people are people. We have to love unconditionally.
Yeah, in the words of Depeche Mode, people are people. Why should it be you and I should get a song?
Exactly. And it's, I don't understand. I'm hoping that humanity will eventually evolve one day, and all this hate and all this separation that has been brought upon the world would change. But maybe I'm dreaming. Just like John Lennon. John Lennon, you know, imagine.
Yeah, well, look what happened to him. He got shot. So.
I know, because they don't want that kind of message out there. They prosper from dividing us. Divide and they shall conquer. That's, you know, a motto. Yes.
Well, it's essentially because we are each our own individual, and we all have differences of opinions. And as long as we have that, you know, there's always going to be conflict, and there's going to have to be conflict resolution and compromise. So. Yeah. Exactly. You know, I had to come to compromise with one of my employers when I was transitioning. So, you know, they told me I had to wear my hair back in a ponytail. They told me I couldn't wear makeup. And I was like, okay, I wanted my job. So I did that until I got to the point where I legally changed my name, and I approached them and told them, look, this is who I am. This is my identity now. And at that point, we changed policy around, and I was able to be a woman at work. So, you know, sometimes it takes some compromise. My mom said to me when I came out to her, listen, if this is what you're going to do, I don't ever want to see you in a skirt. And I was like, Mom, it's no problem. I don't have to be wearing a skirt to be a woman. I'd be in jeans. I mean, I don't need to dress any certain way when I'm with you. And let me tell you, after 2 years of just me not even thinking about it, it was my brother's wedding. My mom says to me, you know what, we need to go find you a nice dress to wear to the wedding. And I'm like, what? You know, I knew I had crossed over when for Christmas a couple years ago, my mom gave me some face creams and says, you need to start using this. You're looking, you know, the wrinkles are starting to set in. So I was like, okay, Mom is giving me face creams. Go figure.
Yeah, they eventually evolve. Like even my mother has evolved a lot, you know, and it's a good feeling, but it takes time. People want our loved ones to get it right away, and it takes time.
Yeah, it's like I was saying earlier, you know, some of us go decades trying to figure out who we are. Sometimes it takes our loved ones the same amount of time, and anything short of that is simply amazing. It's called unconditional love.
Exactly. Well, I'll say the fact is that, you know, it's like reading a book. When we come out and we tell our parents, we are already at the end of the book, and they're just opening it and starting to read from the beginning of the book.
Exactly. So, very eloquently put. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And one of the things, you know, I've been reading a lot of stuff on different people's walls on Facebook, and how they hated their past identity, and they wish they could burn all their old pictures, and they wish people would stop saying, oh, you were such a handsome man, when they're now a female. And I said to them, do you think the butterfly tells the caterpillar, I hated being a caterpillar. I don't want any memory of that. You had to go through being a caterpillar to then become a butterfly.
I had this one trans man who wrote me and said to me, you know, the bank's asking me for my old name, and I don't want to give them my old name because that person's dead. That person no longer exists for me. And I says, I'm sorry, but you're still here, you know, and if it wasn't for that person, you wouldn't be who you are today. You know, I'm very proud of the fact that I was Jesus Lamb, because I am Jesus Lamb. Jesus's name is Jessica now. But if it wasn't for Jesus, I wouldn't be the Jessica I am today. And I reconciled that in my life. And I think it's really important to reconcile that, because, you know, who you were makes you who you are today, and that's really important to realize.
And you're still that person. You can't just erase it. It's not like poof.
No.
You know, every memory in your cell. I mean, I love Maritza, and that's who I used to be. I am now Mark, but I will never erase that memory of Maritza.
Exactly.
I wrote a song for myself. That was Then, This Is Now, and it's like a tribute to Maritza. And God, you know, she was an amazing woman, and I could never erase that. You know, I love who I was, and I love who I am now, and it's part of that yin and yang, and it's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. So I think it's really important to reconcile that part of your life to be who you are today.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And when you said something about on that Larry King, when you said, "Oh, I couldn't wait to wear a skirt and this," and now I'm wearing jeans. You know, I so related to that because my whole life I couldn't wait to wear a bra. Like we were talking about earlier, we want what the other person wants, you know? So exactly. And I wanted to wear a bra so bad. Now when I wear a bra all day, it's like I can't wait to get the damn thing off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what have you taken from your life experience? And if you could do it all over again, would you do anything differently?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. It's actually something I've answered for myself in a dream, and I'll try to share this real quickly. I dreamt once that I went through this time portal, and I was able to witness myself performing on a stage, like in the video you just saw, and singing. And I remember me being Jessica now, looking at me being Jesus then, saying to myself, wow, you know, this person, I can see the hurt in this person's eyes. I know what this person is going through. I can approach this person now and tell them, you know, how to fix their life, you know, and help improve their journey in the path. And I remember standing in front of my old self in this dream and deciding, you know, I'm not going to change a thing because I need to go through that hurt to be who I am today. And if I were to change that, I would not be the Jessica I am. And I decided just to say something else. I said to myself in my dream, you're going to be okay. And I hugged myself, and that was pretty much it. And then I realized, being my old self and remembering how I used to be, that even if my present self would tell my former self how to fix things, I'd be like, who the hell's this lady, and what the hell does she know? You know, I would have been totally defiant anyway, so I would not have paid attention. So, you know, I had to go through what I did anyway, so.
Yeah.
But that's exactly the truth, you know. I would not change anything because I wouldn't be who I have and have the people in my life that I don't have, so.
I would do it all over again if I could. I mean, it's been the most amazing adventure, journey, path, whatever you want to call it. How many people could say they've lived their life on both sides of the fence? How many people? It's just such an amazing experience.
I'll tell you,
I
with a
wouldn't trade it for the
two-spirited
world.
individual, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if I could change one thing, I probably would have came out a lot sooner, but.
To me, it was the perfect timing the way it was because.
But everything goes according to the way it's supposed to go.
Exactly,
So.
and
I mean,
I couldn't.
The one thing, you know, I lost my father a couple years ago. That was a really hard thing for me to do, and it turns out that my father was one of my greatest advocates, and he was the one that helped my mother work through some of the issues she had with me transitioning. I didn't know this about him, and I remember when he passed away, being at his funeral, I met so many people that his life had touched, that we had put an obituary out and, had expected a handful of people to show up to his wake, and we had hundreds of people just come, and they were all telling us wonderful stories about my father and how proud he was of us. And it was, if there was one thing that I would change, maybe I would value and tell my father how much he meant to me, when I had the chance.
And sometimes we forget to do that. We take for granted the people that we have in our lives, and that's what we have to be thankful for every moment, for every minute that we have with the loved ones, because you never know when you're going to lose them. And that's the most important thing. Love. Unconditional love. Not how much money you have in the bank.
I did have a last moment with my father where I told him I love you, and it was just a random sort of thing under a doorway. That was my last moment with him, but I wish I could have told him so much more. I would have known that was my last moment. It might have gone a little differently.
Yeah, I hear you. But yeah, it's love, connections that we make. That's what we're here to do. Not the car you drive, how much money you have in the bank, how you look, the size of breast that you wear, It's not about that, and I wish humanity would get that. We are humans having a spirit, we're spirits having a human experience, and that it's priceless, totally priceless.
Yeah, that sounds like a song, Mark. Maybe you need to write it.
Yeah, there you go. I haven't written in a while. I have to pull out the guitar and write. I mean, I've been practicing for tomorrow's event, but I need to write new stuff, new material.
Yeah.
So talking about artists, you are an amazing artist yourself. You write music, you play the guitar, DJ, and recently you wrote a children's book. Tell us a little bit about this book, and it's called The Adventures of Tina and Jordan.
Yeah, The Adventures of Tina and Jordan. And really, what I meant to do with this book was write a book that would appeal to a mainstream audience. And it's a story about these, two kids right here, Tina and Jordan, and how they met. Tina is not like the other girls, and she, I don't define in this book whether or not she's transgender or not, but I do let the reader know that she doesn't like wearing the dresses her mom makes her wear. And she likes to look like a boy, essentially. And she goes out being adventurous one day, dressed up in a little cowboy outfit, and meets a young boy, Jordan, who is being bullied by other kids. And comes over like a sheriff and tells, the other bullies that they can't treat someone like that, and stands up for little Jordan, and they make a friendship. And Jordan, in my mind, is a transgender child, male to female, and has come out to, her parents, and her mother is seemingly, approving of all of this. So
the creepy door. It sounds like we're in the middle of a horror scene. Hello.
So anyway, so the book is really intended to help share that it's we all are different in our own special ways, and about establishing friendships and accepting each other for who we are and not what necessarily we look like.
And that's a beautiful message, because unfortunately parents teach children prejudice. They teach them to judge, and we need to equip them like you equipped your children to be loving, supportive, and understanding of no matter what color, race, creed, look that you have. Because,
so this book that I wrote was really inspired by a lot of the transgender youth that I have worked with over the years, and it's really dedicated to them and dedicated to the little child I used to be, wondering what my place was in this world.
So let our viewers know how they could pick up a copy of the book.
Yeah, you can go to Amazon.com, you can go to BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, Exlibris.com, which is the publisher, and just type in Jessica Lamb or The Adventures of Tina and Jordan. You can order it right online.
Would it be on your website as well? Because I know
there is a link on my website. Yes,
okay.
If you go to
so they can go to our webpage and they can link directly to the show, and then they'll be able to link to your website directly from our page.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much for allowing me to share that.
Oh, anytime, definitely. So here's a clip of one of your originals written for a good friend, Don't Turn Away.
Yes.
We wanted to share that with our viewers.
in the valley of darkness, the Lord is always there. You should never fear, cause you know He's near. Communications in a prayer. Goodness and mercy will follow you all your days. Just as the gospel turns to me, it will also give you peace. In the faulty thought progression, as obsessive it can be, you lose contact with reality, they'll refuse to help you see. Not a single solitary force can stop the lies you read. So don't you know He'll knock the door, He will make you a better day. Don't turn away. Don't turn away from the Father, 'cause you know He will find the answer. He can change your world around. Don't turn away. Don't turn away from the Father, 'cause you know He will find the answer. He can change your world around. He can change your world around. Turn it upside down. Don't you turn away. Don't you turn away. Don't you turn away. Don't turn away, 'cause He's there every day. When you fall or when you go astray, He'll never leave your side. He'll always be your guide. So stop and listen to His voice deep inside. It's calling you home, back to the throne. In your times of trips, you'll never be alone. Just have faith and pray and hope again. Don't turn away.
Wow,
Nice
that
song.
took me way back.
Yeah, I can imagine. That was the sound of the ocean that we were hearing, right?
Yeah, and I live on near the ocean now. It's
You know,
amazing.
one of the things that I've noticed since we've been doing this show, that transgender individuals are amazingly talented individuals. We need
Isn't
to
that something?
create like trans Hollywood. We were talking about we wanted to create something even
The
here
Trans
locally.
Hollywood movement.
Something here even local where we could have like almost, I don't want to say a talent show, but some sort of event. And we were going to talk to you about that since you do the DJ and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm DJ Jesse Mix now, which was actually given to me by a youth here at Pride Lines. I was mixing at one of their youth proms, and they're like, "Oh, you're like Jesse Mix," and I'm like, "Hey, that's sick." So
yeah,
I used to be DJ
definitely.
JC back in the day. So
Yeah. But the world needs to see the shining light of transgender individuals who are very creative. I don't think I've met one single.
that's what I've always said, is that we transgender folk, we're a crafty bunch. So
Yeah, definitely. So we need to put on some sort of production. It could start up here locally, and who knows, we could like take it all over the United States. You know,
who knows? Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, trying to press the movement to put trans people in
In-
trans roles.
Yeah, in Hollywood, and like,
God.
we are very talented, very, very talented. But and you're amazingly talented, Jessica.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
So, do you have any plans for the future, and where can our viewers get a hold of you?
Online through either Facebook. You can look me up under Jessica Lamb on Facebook. I'm not the Chinese girl that plays piano. I'm another Jessica Lamb on Facebook. And yeah, there used to be a video.
No wonder why they never accepted my friend request. It was the wrong Jessica Lamb.
Yeah. So, yeah, through my website as well. And I do public speaking engagements. So, you know, if you want to invite me to your schools or to your, you know, places of employment to come and talk about transgender issues, I also do that as well. My company, Jessie Lamb Enterprises, that's really what it's all about, doing the greater good and helping people learn about their differences.
That's awesome. Well, we want to thank you so much for being part of our show. We
Thank
had
you for having me.
last year. I can't believe it's been that long.
I know.
When we first started in the radio show, and we've been wanting to have you on the TV show, and here you are. Amazing story.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
The added background noise and everything else, but that just made it possible.
Sorry, I'm here at Pride Line, so it's
you
noisy over here with the kids and stuff. But thanks for putting up with it. But it's amazing.
On the scene with Jessica Lamb.
You really are actually right now. So, we're planning a camp-out trip for some gay kids in January over Martin Luther King weekend, and so we're in the middle of the planning process of trying to get these kids out for a weekend on the outdoors and into a safe space, and we're going to give them some workshops and places where they can discuss the issues and things that plague them. So
And
Yeah.
what better place than nature? I mean, I think people take nature for granted. They're inside an office for 8, 9 hours a day under fake lights, and they never go outside and realize the beauty that there is outside. You know,
That's why
nature's
my car
amazing.
has to have a sunroof so that the sun can shine down on top of my head.
There you go. We need that light. We need that shine from the sun, which is, you know, an amazing force.
Yes, it is.
Well, thank you so much, Jessica. We're going to make a
Thanks,
few
Jess.
announcements and in the trans news and our transformation video of the week and all that good stuff. But folks, please check her out. Go to her website, jessicalamb.com. I believe it is, Joe. There we go. Yeah,
Yes.
www.jessicalamb.com. Right down there. And check this beautiful lady out and her talent, and her book, and all the wonderful things she has to share. Thank you.
Yes.
You know we love you so much,
Love you
Jessica.
too. Mwah. Thanks for
Thank you,
having me,
Jess.
guys.
Thank you so much.
So,
We're going to have a post show if you want to stick around. If not, we understand. We honor your time, and thank you so much for sharing this moment with us.
well, I'll hang out a little while. So.
All righty. All right. So we're going to make a few announcements, and then we'll be back here. So we have a dear friend, and he was also on the show a while back. He's all the way in Canada, Michael Sherman. Previous guest on our show has just recently gotten the official approval from the CAMH and will be receiving his official top surgery letter from OHIP. He now needs to come up with the funds to help him get to Montreal and back for his surgery.
He quotes, "I know how much times are tough for people, and any little bit of help would be greatly appreciated. I have a dream to have my surgery done before I turn 40 years old, and looks like my dream will happen before or around the time I turn 39, which is next year. But that's if I can raise the funds to get me there. I greatly appreciate the help and know that I am not the type of guy to ask for help, but I need to reach out this time."
He quotes, Thank you all who already have helped me. Much love from Michael from St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada." And Michael, I wish you luck, and hopefully our viewers will chip in to help out with your surgeries. I want to also bring forth another announcement tomorrow, and I think it's going to be a week long. There's going to be a Gender Bender, the art show, and it's hosting this incredible event. The opening ceremony is tomorrow, Friday, November 8th. There's going to be a cocktail reception in the Pride Center's Building B from 7:30 p.m. till 9:30, featuring many great artists, and I will be performing around there as well. 3 of my originals and selling my CDs for those of you who want a copy of that wonderful CD, Enslaved.
And you can catch the event and mark live at the Pride Center, located at 2040 North Dixie Highway in Wilton Manors, Florida, 33305.
So now we're going to do the In the Trans news. Trans-inclusive ENDA has passed the Senate. Yay! 64-32. The Senate passes anti-discrimination bill protecting LGB and the T this time employees. However, the House still needs to approve the bill, we're told.
A few weeks back, we shared an article regarding how the Christian Coalition is creating a campaign filled with lies regarding an 8-year-old transgender girl.
We wanted to share this video and show how these groups who call themselves God-loving individuals, you gotta love them, will stop at nothing to create hate. They are playing the victim as usual and spreading hate in the name of their God. Listen to this video.
You're kind of wired as a mom to protect your kid. And when you're unable to, that's scary. The school pretty much told us, your daughter has no rights.
Well, it kind of makes me a little bit nervous about, like, if I run into him.
I felt uncomfortable because I know that he doesn't have the same parts as me, which I do not think that's right, that he could go into the same bathroom as me.
When the school told me there's no rights, I was like, there has to be rights for these girls.
This Colorado high school decided to allow a boy who has gender identity disorders and and we recognized that, it allowed him to start using the girls' bathrooms, the girls' locker rooms, to give him the full access to the facilities that are normally just for girls.
I believe if you want to be gay or a girl, if you're a guy, you have the right to do that, but you don't need to put everyone else in a position to where they're uncomfortable to do that.
I was going into the bathroom. I sat there, I was just walking in, and I see him there, and I just turned around and walked out of the bathroom.
I actually only use the bathroom probably once a day, and that's when I'm in gym, and I don't have the same gym class with him, so I'm trusting that he won't walk in there while I'm in there.
Things are meant to be private and kept for you and only for you.
You have private parts for a reason, you know, and now they're not private anymore.
My first time running into the boy in the locker room, or bathroom, I mean, was like 2 months ago, and me and my friend were in there, and all of a sudden we see him walk out of the stall, and then I felt really weird, and we just walked out.
I just don't go to the bathroom as much anymore.
After investigating this matter, we at Pacific Justice Institute did not hesitate to contact the school and, in writing, make it very clear that they were violating the rights of these young people, violating the rights of parents, and that they needed to change their policies immediately.
From day one, you protect your kid from the electrical outlets. You put things on your cabinet so they can't get into the medicine. It's your job to protect your kid because they can't protect themselves yet.
I feel sorry for this little boy, but at the same time, I need to respect him. He needs to respect me. And I do that. Why can't he do it? Why can't we teach him, respect others? We pray for this boy every night, which is, as a family, we decided we're going to pray for this boy. And, he's a confused boy. This is not the school's problem or my daughter's problem that he has decided to do this. But it is my problem when they're uncomfortable and not safe at school. I feel as if they're not safe at all.
Make no mistake, these young teenage girls have gone through a lot mentally and emotionally as a result of this whole ordeal. We're hoping that at the end of the day, this school district will apologize to these young girls and at the same time amend their policies so that in the future, no young girl or young boy for that matter will ever have to worry about having their privacy or modesty violated when they're using a bathroom or a locker room in the future.
Where do we begin on this one?
Oh my.
Private parts are meant to be
God.
private parts. So what, don't they have stall or they can't afford stalls and everybody's just like showing their dingling when they're
Wait a minute. First off. The victims here are not these little girls. The victim here is the trans child that they're publicly humiliating.
Exactly. Be afraid. They're not safe. My child's not safe because an 8-year-old trans girl is going to the bathroom. You people should be ashamed of yourself.
Oh my God.
Psychotic. Psychotic is the word. I can't even think of another word. I could respect your religious beliefs, okay? But when you try to play the victim, as you always do, and try to demonetize us like we're some sort of demons, then that's wrong. To listen to this video, I would be ashamed to be on that video.
I would too.
The most I go, and I pray for this boy. Oh my God, really?
Ridiculous.
Totally ridiculous. I like just.
And you can tell the kids aren't even bothered by it because look at the hands.
Yeah, their hands are going, Mom, why are you making me do this? This is really embarrassing. Please hide my face.
Filled with lies, but anyway.
Oh my God.
Ridiculous. The most absurd thing I have ever seen. What is it?
Careful of the transgender 8-year-old kid is going to attack your daughter in the bathroom. Exactly. Coming to theater near you.
Meanwhile, whatever. What was that called again? The what?
I don't know. And they want donations.
Justice Institute?
Justin, some sort of Christian family value type of thing. And they want donations because they always want donations. Oh, yeah. God's a business. And, God needs donation because, God doesn't know how to not spend money, and you know how that goes. Anyway, enough of that because that just angered me. And by the way, they removed all the bad comments, and they had like 1,000 and something dislikes.
Yeah, the comment that I made.
1,000 something dislikes, over 65 likes. Of course, we know the 65 likes were the Christians, and the other 1,000 something. So
it's like 1,084
dislikes. And they're just because they want to control everything. Okay, I have nothing against everyone's different religious beliefs, but when you try to just step the
Sorry, that whole thing is ridiculous.
That's
I mean,
just
the bathrooms have stalls.
Yes.
You know, what are they shitting in a
the
bucket?
8-year-old trans girl's not gonna sit there going, "Ooh, what do you have?" You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. Anyway, let's skip that because it's just like
Go into the next
transition video of the week. Okay, here we go. My little epilogue before the transition video of the week. The road we walk on can be difficult at times, but if we look at this journey as an amazing crossing, a bridge made for longing to get to the other side, we can turn things around, and instead of crying, we can smile within our drowning and realize that it is the journey, not the destination, that counts.
Creating is what we do. Don't worry about the final outcome. Enjoy the now, for these times will never be relived and will shape your tomorrow from here on in. And now for the transition video of the week with Audrina Hilton.
Go, Audrina.
So beautiful, and I tell her every day. Yeah, I know, when I compliment her, she won't believe me. And it's so sad to think that she don't see what I see. But every time she asks me, do I look okay? I say, when I see your face, there's not a
Beautiful transformation. And girl, you're amazing just the way you are. You're my little
And
blonde
boy,
shell.
so are you.
Well, thank you so much. Please send us your transition videos. We look forward to presenting those to you week after week. I think it's an amazing thing that goes on when we go from one energy source into another energy source. Next week, stay tuned for our radio show with Reese Ramirez. And on the 14th, on the TV show, Camila Walters, also known as Camila Rose. She's an amazing country singer. Waters. What did I say?
Waters.
Waters. What is Rose? Camila Rose. And amazing artist. She used to do shows all over the United States as John Denver, and now she's just got an amazing voice, amazing music, and you don't want to miss that show. Thank you, Jessica, so much. My God, amazing, amazing interview. Thank you, Joe, for all you do behind the scenes to make this possible. Thank you, our viewers and listeners and friends and families that joined us.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody, just everybody, all right? But you know one thing we want to tell everybody, right? Tell them a little something.
We love you, but remember to always love yourselves too.
Mwah. Good night, folks. Thank you.